Stitchy friends, welcome to the Starlight Stitching Co. Flosstube video number 29. Today is Friday, January 19th, and it feels like forever since I've been here with a regular Flosstube. If you are new here, welcome. This is my little corner of the internet where I share whatever crafty things I've been up to lately. If you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me and see what I've been up to. So let's see. The last regular Flosstube video was before Christmas. So I hope you had a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. It was a bit of an odd one for us this year. With having just moved and having lost some people in the family, so it was the first Christmas without them. Either way, I don't want to go into all that. I hope you had a fabulous time spending time with family. Since then, I have posted a craft room tour, a gridding tutorial for how I like to grid for some larger, more in-depth projects. I also shared a finish parade and a whip parade. So this is the first regular Flosstube video of 2024. I do have quite a pile of stuff around me, so this should be a little bit interesting, and I'm not entirely sure what to start with. I guess let's start with finishes. So since I saw you last before Christmas, I was working on a crochet shawl, the Perfect Pockets shawl by Sonia Hood, for a Christmas gift, and I filmed a little clip of showing it finished, and I will insert that here. Hi, I just wanted to pop on and share the crochet shawl that I finished. So here it is. This is the Perfect Pockets shawl by Sonia Hood. I've shared it on my Flosstube several times, and I held together two very pretty yarns, and it's always hard to share a crochet project when you can't see how it's worn. So I'm back as far as I can go. So it's a nice sized shawl to keep your shoulders warm, and two of these big large pockets to keep your hands warm on a nice walk, and this pretty fringe on the bottom. I am just thrilled with how it came out, and now it is all ready to be wrapped up and ready for Christmas opening. Okay, I also started and finished a project that I hadn't shared on here before. My husband and I previously had some inexpensive Christmas stockings from Walmart, and they had broken last year. The little hanger part had broken off, and instead of fixing them, I just threw them away because, I don't know, it was just one thing on top of a bunch of other things that I didn't want to deal with. So that meant this year we needed new stockings. And so I went to Walmart to look at getting some new stockings, and the ones that looked halfway decent, oh my goodness, they were so expensive. And so I looked through my stash of some of my mini charm packs and some scraps of fabric. I did order a little bit of fabric because I didn't have mini charm packs that I thought would work for each of the people I was making a stocking for. So either way, I quilted Christmas stockings for myself and my husband and my father-in-law. My husband's a junior, so of course their names are the same. So I used 3 different mini charm packs and purchased, I think it was a half a yard of fabric that matched each of the collections, and sewed up some stockings. So the top portion on each of the stockings is just some white on white snowflake fabric that I had in my stash, and I put on some fusible fleece interfacing, and then I hand embroidered the names onto them. And mine almost didn't fit. I should have made it a little bit smaller, but it worked out. And then they are lined with the same fabric that is on the back. Simple quilting, simple patchwork. I did kind of use a pattern from Confessions of a Serial Homeschooler, I think. I will link it below. But her stocking patterns would have ended up making a giant stocking. So I ended up cutting the pattern down, cutting the template down a little bit to make mine a little bit smaller, because I wanted these to be close in size to the cross stitch one that I made from a dimensions kit for my daughter several years ago. So those are 4 different finishes that were all Christmassy related. It was so unusual. I had everything finished for Christmas, like 2 days before Christmas. Usually I am working on trying to finish up Christmas gifts up until the very late hours of the night on Christmas Eve. Or possibly even Christmas morning if we weren't exchanging gifts until later in the day. So, or like last year where I didn't get it finished at all and had to give it to my sister a little late. So yeah, I had 2 days before Christmas that everything was totally finished and I just didn't know what to do with myself. So I picked up a little things that were just for fun. After my whip parade, and I discussed how I want to handle my whips for this year in more detail in that. But basically, I have a little jar with buttons for each of my whips. Now, some of my bigger whips, like the bigger samplers I've put, are worth 2 buttons, but most of them are worth 1 button. So I have to finish 2 of my current whips into this New Start piggy bank jar. And if I want to start something new, it takes 2 buttons to start something new, because I want to try to get my whips down by the end of the year. Now, I don't know how well that'll work as I go throughout the year, because then eventually I'll probably just be left with big projects. So I don't know. We'll figure that out later. For now, that's what I'm doing. Right now I have 1 little button in my New Start bank. But I finished the Hello August. This one I think just needed the buttons sewn on, or no, the bottom chevron and then the buttons sewed on. And I finished Hello March. This is from the Hands On Design Well Hello There pattern, and I did purchase the button pack from Fat Quarter Shop. I already have January, February, and July finished, and then I just finished August and March. So these are 2 finishes that are ready to be fully finished. Okay, I'm trying to figure out where to set things so I can still get to everything I need to get to. I also finished on Christmas Eve, or not Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. I finished Winter Quaker by Primrose Cottage Stitches. I had started this on Christmas Eve, I think, because again, I didn't know what to do with myself. And I finished it on New Year's Eve. So this took less than a week. And I stitched this on 32 count raw silver linen from Zweigart. And I used the Classic Colorworks color Wavy Navy. I didn't have Battleship. I knew I had some of this Wavy Navy, so I used it instead. And it looks beautiful. And I want to finish it into a little pillow similar, but not exact, to the cover. So I think that takes care of finishes for now. Yes, I think that takes care of finishes. So I'm sure as I work through my whips and get some of those faster to finish items done, or the smalls done, I'll have to figure out a different system but at least I will be able to reduce my number of whips. Hopefully that makes sense. It probably doesn't. I'm rambling. Next up on whips, on Christmas, actually I think it was the day after Christmas, I started the Magnus Cardigan. This is a pattern by Megan Makes Do, and I purchased the kit that comes with the navy colored yarn as well as the, what is this? The sunset yarn. That's what's currently attached. And here's where I'm at. Isn't that gorgeous? So I really haven't spent a whole lot of time on this, surprisingly enough. So far it is a really simple crochet cardigan pattern. I've used single crochet, double crochet, and chains so far, and that is it. And it is so pretty. I love it with the navy in the back instead of that mustard color. The mustard color is very pretty. It's just not quite my style. I love blue, and I think it will become a beautiful cardigan when it's done. And I'm excited about that. So that's all I have. That's not all I have for whips. That's ridiculous. Before we get into the whips that I've worked on the last couple of weeks, I wanted to share a little bit about how I'm planning my stitching. So I have a super plain, inexpensive, what is it, an A5 planner, just from Walmart or wherever, with a regular planner insert. Oops. I got this one in the middle of the year, so it's like a school year range planner, but either way, that's not the point. So I shared before how I make a grid, and I have my month up here and the days of the month, and instead of drawing it like I've done previously, yeah, here's how I did it last year, just on some of that dot grid paper. I actually printed out and hole punched on nice paper and made it a little more professional, because I'm doing the same thing over and over again. Why draw the same thing over and over again? But I simply write the project name that I'm working on, and I just put a little X on the days that I've worked on that. And that helps me keep track of what I've worked on for a period of time. It's very helpful for Flosstube videos. If you see a star, that means I finished it on that date. And it is just a super simple way of keeping track of the items that I've worked on. So I know some people like to use the book of days as a record, so it's like an individual planner all on its own. Whereas for me, I like to use this because the whole year will just take 5 or 6 pages, depending on how many I do. So at the end of January, I won't necessarily start a new page. I'll just write February in and then write the numbers in wherever I'm at and continue from there. So that's how I keep track of what I've worked on. I also have my list of cross-stitch whips here. So I have a number, the name, the start date, a finish date, and a box to check off if I have FFO'd it or not. And also, along with the whips, I am giving myself a very strict crafty budget. It's unrealistic for me to say I'm not going to buy anything for the entire year, because new stuff is going to come out, or I'll find out I'm out of something, or it's just not the right thing for whatever that project is. And so to say I'm not going to buy anything at all for the entire year, I will fail at that instantly. So instead, I'm giving myself a set dollar amount per month. That's kind of a very personal decision, so I'm going to keep that a little bit private. But either way, I'm going to stick strictly within that dollar amount. And if I run out, then I don't get anything. So I'm keeping track of that on a sheet like this. Again, these are all sheets that I came up with and printed off. Somewhere in here I also have just a notebook page with a wish list. But the big thing that I really wanted to get to before getting into whips is the Heifr 2024. So if you haven't watched Floss Boss and Cousins, this isn't going to make any sense at all. But it's similar to a Whip Go board. And obviously mine doesn't look like a Whip Go board or a bingo board. But you fill it with the projects that you want to work on, and they're associated with a number. And they will draw, the Floss Boss and Cousins will draw 2 numbers each month. And those 2 numbers are what you work on for that particular month. So I have my column of numbers, my project name, the date called, and my goal for all of these projects is to just work on them for 10 days. If I only put 3 stitches in it, that still counts as working on it for one of those days. And then I'm just putting a little X if I've worked on it or not. So something that is super simple and super fast to keep up with, because I don't have a whole lot of time to be spending marking stuff in a planner. I want to be able to take a few minutes, check it off, and move on. But I thought it would be fun to share with you the projects that I have on my Heifr board. So how about I start off, if I can get to it. It's kind of funny because this month the numbers 2 and 25 were called. And some of these projects I have in multiple spots, because you have a list of 25. Some of them I have listed in multiple spots on my list, because I want to work on it more than just 10 days. I want to get it done. So the first one is this Dimensions kit called, what is it called? Santa's Truck Stocking. And I am working on stitching this using the kit floss and the kit Ada. I have gridded it. This is actually the piece of fabric I was gridding in my gridding tutorial. And that's the progress I've made on it in 7 days. So I wasn't quite finished with gridding it yet when it was called. So I counted the day that I finished gridding it as 1 day of working on it. And this is quite literally 6 days worth of progress. And that might be, 15 minutes of stitching time. It might be an hour of stitching time. It just depends on the day. But that's where I've gotten so far. And yeah, so numbers 2 and 25 on my list, both of them were this truck stocking. So that means I get to work on it 20 days this month, which makes it a little bit harder, because I think if I had 2 different projects, I would be able to work on both of them at different times of the day, and I could get 2 in 1 day. But since it's 2 of the same project, it doesn't really work that way. And I think in here I have another one of the projects on my list, on my Heifr board, the Cricut Collection Sugar Cookies. I shared this before Christmas and did not get much done on it at all. But this is the progress I've made on it. And you just saw these in my whip braid, so I'm not going to go in a whole lot of detail. I'm just going to kind of flash them up there really quick and put them away. Okay, so we did the truck stocking. The truck stocking will end up being for my father-in-law. I knew that it would take a while to get these done. That's why I did the quilted stockings. And eventually, when I get the stitch stockings done, I will replace them. So this is the Santa stocking that I started for my husband. I started this in January of 2023 and quite honestly haven't gotten hardly anything done since. So when this is called, I will spend some time on that. Next is, sorry, big stack of stuff here. Next on my Heifr board is Let Love Rain. I started this as my birthday start. This is also what I'm considering my Sunday stitch. So I will work on this on Sundays, that way I can keep it in my rotation. And I did work on it on the last few Sundays. Sorry, I can't see what you see. And here is where I'm at. So since the last time you saw it, I have, let's see, I finished out the willow tree on the house on the right side and the little bird, filled in the windows. I don't think these harps were here the last time you saw it, and I've gotten further on the chain. So my next task is to try to get this chain brought all the way across, and then finish up everything above that chain before moving on to the next section. So this is on my Heifr board 1, 2, 3 times. Hopefully they don't all get called in the same month. And that is also my Sunday stitch. The next is one that I actually worked on recently as well. So this will be the only time that I go through everything that's on my Heifr board. Going forward, I'll just show whatever's been called for that month that I'm working on. So the next one on my Heifr board is The Light of Winter, and this is also one of the whips I've worked on recently. And here is my progress. I'm stitching this on a 32 count raw gold linen by Zweigart. And I have that center flower done, these little flowers above, the trees, the snowflakes, and I'm working on bringing that snow border over. And I had a thought earlier this week, wouldn't it be fun or neat, since I started this on the first day of winter, if I could get it finished before the last day of winter? I don't know if that's possible. That might be a bit of a tall ask. But that is one of the projects that I worked on recently. The next item on my Heifr board is At Home by Brenda Gervais. And I am stitching this on, I think it's a 32 count Mayflower linen by Fox and Rabbit. So I have, I think, the centers of these flowers to fill in. Very beautiful chart. I would like to get back to it, which is why I put it on my Heifr board. And the next one on the board is Rejoice Evermore by Brenda Gervais. Yep, by Brenda Gervais. Lots of Brenda Gervais in here. And it is so pretty. Here's where I'm at. I haven't picked this one up in quite some time. Get everything shoved back in. Okay, next is Welcome to the North Pole by Primrose Cottage Stitches. And here's where I'm at. I think that was stitched on a 32 count mushroom Lugana. First time using Lugana. struggling a little bit. I'm a little bit slower at it. Next is Quaker Snowflakes. This one, yeesh. I love the pattern. It's a gorgeous pattern. My problem is this fabric. It is a 32 count linen by Picture This Plus. It's absolutely beautiful. But because it's a dark fabric and because it's linen, it's harder to see the holes. So I have to have it in a hoop. And some of these Quakers are spaced far enough apart that counting is very challenging, especially when you can't see the holes. So I don't know. I feel like I could have already had this done if it was on an easier to see fabric. So I might be switching out the fabric and just scrapping this piece of linen. It's beautiful linen. I just can't see it very well. It makes it so difficult. It makes me not want to pick it up and stitch it. And I know I could have it done otherwise. So maybe I will see about getting some navy Aida or some blue Aida. I don't know. I'm just pondering around that thought. Next, America the Beautiful by Stitching with the Housewives. That's where I'm at. Santa Stocking, Truck Stocking, Let Love Rain. Those are all repeats. Oh Holy Night Nativity by the Stony Creek Collection. Beautiful pattern. I restarted this last year on 32 count Crystal Dwarf linen and have a very small start. So I would like to get a lot more on that done. Winter Cardinals. This is my oldest whip. I don't have a cover sheet. It is a dimensions kit that I started well over 18 years ago. And I just need to finish the pine branches that are on this side and a little bit more fill in on this side. So that is on my board. Then I have Hive Rules by Primrose Cottage Stitches. And here's where I'm at. And that is not the right project bag. Hold, please. There goes the strawberry bag. Next is This I Know by Plum Street Samplers. Here's where I'm at. A very sad little start. Sugar Cookies, Land That I Love, Oh Holy Night, At Home, Let Love Rain, Oh Holy Night, and the Truck Stocking. So that is all of my heifer picks for this year. Again, the two that were picked for this month were both the Truck Stocking. So I still have about 13 more days to stitch on that. Some other whips that I've worked on. I have two in here. Technically three, but two active whips. So this is When Life is Done by Silver Creek Samplers. I would like to get this finished by January 22nd. That is the anniversary of my dad's passing, and I want to be able to finish this and give it to my mother. I already have the frame, and I have gotten a lot done on this since you saw this in the Whip Parade. So in the Whip Parade, I just had the branch, but not the leaves, and I had like the bottom part of her skirt partially done. And of course the words and the birds here. But I didn't have the grass, I didn't have the sun, I didn't have the headstone, the flowers, I didn't have anything above the waistline of the dress or any of the leaves. And all that has been added in. So all I have left are these flowers here, filling in this heart up here, filling in the skirt, and filling in the tombstone. And I'm hoping to get that done in the next day or two and get it popped into the frame that I have for it so I can give it to her on the 22nd. I think that's doable. A lot of fill-in work, so I don't even hardly have to look at the pattern. Next is a new start. This is the Valentine's Day Quaker by Primrose Cottage Stitches. And this is a perfect example of there's no way I could spend absolutely no money and work only with what I already have in my craft room. Because this is an adorable pattern. And I had so much fun stitching the winter Quaker. And I already have the autumn Quaker as a whip. I haven't finished it, but... So I purchased this pattern. Just the pattern. And I am using some 28 count white opalescent linen. There's my progress. I haven't spent a whole lot of time on it. So I pulled some Color and Cotton rose petals out of my stash. And I know that won't be enough to do the whole chart most likely. Because last time, the winter Quaker, I had to use 2 skeins of the Wavy Navy by Classic Colorworks. Sorry, brain is not working today. So I don't think this will be enough for the whole chart. So I pulled out DMC 899, which is very close to the darker shade in this. And I'll do some of the motifs in that. I honestly don't even think you'll be able to notice that much, but that'll be a way that I can stretch this out a little bit further and save some room in my crafty budget. So that is a whip. Oops. I have also worked more on, let me get it out of the hoop. I know I shouldn't leave it in the hoop anyway, but do we always follow the rules? No. What is this? This is Snow Magical. It was a stitch along with Nicole Spore. I had bought the kit with 40 count fabric, and to see the holes in this 40 count fabric, I have to have it in a hoop. I should have ironed it for you before showing, but now I am at the point where I just need to fill in all that snow and all that sweater, and then it would be done. So I have been working on that. What else is in here? Okay. Oh, my pile's about to fall over. That just needs to be put away. That's not, or no, I did work on this since I've seen you. So on Christmas Day, I started a Christmas tree. This is by Folk Art Designs. No, All Through the Night. A Christmas tree. And it's meant to be a monochromatic stitch. I am stitching this on a 32 count raw gold linen. I just happen to have a piece that is the right size in my stash. And I am switching out the colors, and I'm not doing it monochromatic. So I have a small start on just the top point and the branches. And honestly, I haven't picked it up since then. Other things have caught my attention. Squirrel. One of those other things, and this I am not counting as part of my whip buttons project, I guess you'd call it. I don't know what you would want to call it. I bought all of the patterns and the finishing piece for the monthly Quakers by From the Heart Needle Art by Wendy. And I started the February Quaker on some 20 count white Aida. And I'm switching up my colors. I am using, here, let me just get them out really quick. I just started this earlier this week. So I'm starting with February because I want to have them finished and on display by the beginning of that month. So here we have Color and Cotton Secret Admirer, which seemed perfect, and Color and Cotton Parlor, and then DMC 3350. So here I am starting with the Secret Admirer, and I've gotten a good start on that motif. I don't know if I'm holding it the right way. Doesn't matter at this point. But that's where I'm at. So I'm not counting these as part of my whip buttons. I just want to get these stitched and finished for each month. And I have all of the patterns together and all of the fabric pieces cut in this one handbag. One of my handbags. This one I kept for myself because, if you can tell, this inside fabric here, the words are upside down. And by the time I realized it, it was almost done. Like I was clipping the binding around to the front when I noticed it. So the ones that get goofed or messed up are the ones that I keep. Okay, what next? The only other whip I have is also part of haul. So this is the pattern I'm using. I'm knitting a Harvest cardigan by Tin Can Knits. This is a free pattern. This is also the first sweater that Tiger Lily Designs knit, I think. But I purchased this yarn from Bad Sheep Yarn. It's called Wild Blueberry. I have been dreaming about this yarn since I saw it on my Instagram feed in October. I don't know. I've been dreaming about this yarn for a long time. I love blue, and this is just so, so gorgeous. So with some cash I received for Christmas and most of my January crafty budget, I ordered a sweater quantity of this yarn and caked up one ball. And yesterday I knit up my little gauge swatch. So I did have to increase needles to get gauge, and especially at closer to the end of the day, you know, the third time trying to knit this to get gauge with a different set of needles, my stitches were a little tighter because I was getting frustrated. So it is close enough that I think this will work. I have not blocked my gauge swatch yet to see how much it changes, but I will probably do that later today. So I have my little gauge swatch here finished, and the yarn just looks so, so pretty knit up. And I need help. When I did my bind off, it's very tight. Again, by the end of the day, I was frustrated. I was done with this. So it may be that I just didn't leave my stitches loose enough when doing my bind off. But if you have a method or a tutorial that I should look up for more of a stretchy bind off, please let me know. So this is going to be a stunning sweater, and I'm excited to get started. I probably would have started it last night, but I need to look up a video for the first step of the instructions. So we'll see how that goes. I'm running out of room. Okay, the next section is haul. And there is quite a bit of haul, but a lot of it I ordered a while ago, like last year before the end of the year. And I kind of just chucked it all in this little bin. So I had ordered the Plum Street Samplers Winter Moon Kit. And I ordered the version that has 36 count saltbush as the fabric. I'm so glad I didn't order 40 count. I think it'll be a while before I do 40 count. 20 count Aida I have no problem with because it's easier to see the holes. But this is a 36 count saltbush. Everything is in here ready to go. It was quite a pricey little kit, but it's cute. It's ready to go. It'll go in my stash. I ordered the bow tool set from Chantal's 141 Design Company, and those arrived. I haven't used them yet, but I'm excited to. I did get the Primrose Cottage stitches last Sip and Stitch, which came with the chart Sip, Stitch, Repeat, and Warm Winter Wishes, as well as the floss and the finishing kit. And it came with the mug, but the mug is downstairs in the kitchen. When working on the 40 count, Nicole Spohr, during the stitch along, had recommended Bowen size 28 needles. So most of the time I just use DMC needles, and I did receive some Pony Black needles in the Tiger Lily Designs Advent box, and I have enjoyed using those. So I figured I needed to widen my horizons on the different types of needles. And I also ordered some Peacemakers, 28 Peacemakers. I've only used the Bowen so far, and it does help a little bit with the 40 count. Next up in haul, I ordered some fabrics from Fabrics by Stephanie right after the Jingle Ball. So this is a piece of 32 count linen in the color Juniper. It's a very pretty greeny aqua color. I think it's showing pretty true to color there, maybe a little bit more intense than it actually is. Very pretty. And then I also ordered some 18 count Aida in the color Peppermint Sparkle. This was specifically for the chart. Now let me make sure. No, it's not. Okay. So I thought there was another chart that Hands On Design had done for the Jingle Ball that was done in Peppermint Sparkle. And it was a much deeper red, like a true Christmas red. And I know this is Aida, and I ordered the opalescent because I like sparkle. But this is definitely more of a coral pink color instead of a true red color. I mean, that's showing pretty true to color right there. All the light reflecting off of the snow that's outside. Speaking of snow, I hope y'all are staying warm during this polar vortex. It finally warmed up to, what did it get up to? 20 degrees the other day. But for a couple of days it was, what, -14 with a -35 wind chill? I don't know. It was so frigid. Ooh, we just stayed inside and closed up everything as much as possible. But anyway, so this is definitely more of a coral pink sparkly color. It's still pretty. It's just not quite what I was expecting. So I went into my fabric stash and used some cherry red Rit dye to dye some I'm trying to determine the size. I don't remember. It's Aida. It's an opalescent Aida that I had in my stash. I want to say it's a 16 count. It doesn't seem as big as 14 count. So I think it's a 16 count opalescent Aida. And I made the dye bath very strong. So I think I probably used about 3 or 4 cups of water, and the dye bottle had been opened, but it was at least 3/4 full, and I put the whole thing in. So I made a very strong dye bath with cherry red dye, and this is showing quite a bit lighter than it actually is. That's a little bit better. It's definitely a pinkish red. Definitely a pinkish red. But I like how it came out. So that gave me that red color that I was looking for. I had dyed 2 pieces of that Aida, and then also an 18 count white Charles Craft Aida. And the way I got that little bit of modeling in there is I had mixed probably about half a bottle of the dye in with that water and dunked the fabric in the water and swished it around and stirred it around really good. And then I just scrunched it up in the container, and then I quite literally poured the rest of the bottle of dye in there around. And that's how I got the little bit of modeling that I got there. So I was just playing around dyeing fabric. Why I felt like I needed to do that immediately, I don't know. I'm not going to start that right now. Squirrel, right? And then after my Whip Parade, where is that chart? Here it is. After showing this pattern by Vivsters, the Let It Snow sampler, I had started it on a navy Aida and realized that my fabric wasn't big enough. Then I started it on an opalescent Aida that I had dyed with indigo blue dye, but the opalescent was just a bit too much with the floss. I liked how it looked on the navy Aida better. So I ordered a large enough piece of 18 count navy Aida so I can restart that when I get to it. Not today, not in the current plans, might even wait until next winter. I don't know. The next piece of haul I have, so I have, in an effort to stick within my crafty budget, I have canceled any and all subscriptions that I had, except there's one that I joined more recently, and that's Crazy Annie Stitching. Finished that stitch with Lois from Lady Creates. And the idea behind that is that they would send supplies and tutorials and instructions for techniques for finishing some of your cross-stitch items. And the first kit that we received came with some general supplies. So a pack of embroidery needles, a long doll needle, a needle threader, natural fiber batting, poly fleece batting, sheer weight interfacing, and button and carpet thread for gathering. So this is what came in the first kit. Good supplies. This kit is every other month, so excuse the crinkle. They tell us that Chapter 2, which is March and April, will be a Not Your Typical Tomato. Chapter 3, May and June, will be 5 trims and attachment methods. That should be interesting. Chapter 4, July and August, is Berry with a Twist. Chapter 5, September and October, is Finish It Flat. And Chapter 6, November and December, is Spooling Around. I'm kind of excited to see what that spooling around one is. So definitely something I am looking forward to, but I have to admit I was a little bit disappointed. And what I was disappointed in is that we got this lovely packet of supplies, and it just tells us to hold on to it until the next month. till the next subscription arrives in March and April. I mean, I was really looking forward to finishing something this month or next month. So it's a little bit disappointing. I wish this would have been like the starter pack. Like you ordered this and got it immediately to hang on to. I don't know. I'm looking forward to learning the techniques. I am just disappointed that I can't physically do anything really right now with the first packet other than just hang on to it. But alas, I'm sure it will lead to lots of new skills learned. So I gave a couple of Musselburgh hats as Christmas presents, and my sister requested a Musselburgh hat in red, and I ordered this beautiful Malabrigo Rios in the color Libra, which I thought was perfect because her birthday's in October. And it is a very pretty dark red and pink and light pink. It is going to be gorgeous. But after the yarn arrived, and it's showing up true to the color on the screen. After it arrived, it kind of dawned on me that she might have wanted like a Chief's red, like a primary red, instead of a purpley pinky red. I don't know. Kelly, I know you watch. Let me know. Is this good enough? I'm not starting it anytime soon. There's plenty of time between now and October to knit up a hat because those go pretty quickly. Okay. We've talked finishes. We've talked planner and heifer and haul and the whips that I've worked on recently. So I guess we're on to plans now, right? Oh, first, I do want to share some of the Flosstubes that I've been watching lately. So every morning during the week, I get up early and I'm working in my craft room sewing handbags and totes and clutches that I sell in my shop. And while I'm sewing, I'm usually listening to or watching Flosstube videos. Now, these aren't all of the ones that I've watched in the last month because that would take forever. But here are some of them. Bumble Stitches, I watched her whip parade that she shared at the beginning of the year. Very fun. I've enjoyed all the whip parades everywhere. Antique Needleworkers just recently shared a fabulous video. She just seems so sweet and nice. I've never like talked to her personally or met her in person, but she seems like the sweetest person ever. I want to be her when I grow up. The Museum Stitcher, Textilly, Crafty Cottage Stitches is back, which is nice. Sarah's Stitchery, it's been a lot of fun seeing what she's working on. We have a lot of the same whips going on. Garnet Rose Stitchers, I watched their part 1 of their whip parade. They're pretty funny to listen to. I don't think they've shared their part 2 yet. Between the two of them, I know they had a lot of whips, so I look forward to seeing that. The Garden Goose Stitcher and Sherry Moss. Those are the Flosstubes I've been watching lately, and I'll make sure to tag them in the description box below, so if you haven't heard of them before or seen their videos, you can check them out. It's always fun to find a new Flosstube to watch, especially when you watch them on the regular like I do. Okay, so next up I have some plans. So we talked about heifer, so I've been working on those goals. I want to finish the When Life is Done chart by the 22nd, which is just a few days away. Doable. I'll make sure to do a short little video sharing with you what that looks like before I actually give it to my mom. And then I'll add it into the next Flosstube. But I've also been kitting up a couple of things that I want to start soon. So the thing about controlling the starts is it makes me plan a little bit more what I want to start. And, you know, just anticipate it a little bit more. Especially seeing everything that I have that are already whips or are already kitted up And it's just made me think about it a little bit more. So one thing that I plan to start the next time I have a couple buttons is this Words to Live by Salt and Pepper Stitching. She's now called Emily Call Stitching. And there are these 3 beautiful little pillows. And I want to stitch all 3 of them. So I know it seems silly, but I'm going to count this as one start, even though you know darn well when I get them finished, I'm going to count them as 3 individual finishes. So we're not going to worry about the mathing right now. But I want to stitch that, and I will be stitching it on a 36 count linen that is from the Crafty Grimlikin, and it's in the color Graveyard Mist Lapin Loops. It's a white, sorry, there's something stuck to the back, with like a purpley blue undertone to it. I don't know if you can see that. You can see it in person. It has like a purpley undertone, like the serging on the edges. Very pretty. And I want to pair it with Deep Blue Sea. I happen to have 3 skeins of Deep Blue Sea in my stash from Classic Colorworks. And I want to stitch those 3 sweet little pillows. They say, pray always, love one another, and have faith. So right now this has just been kitted up and sitting on my shelf so I can see it every day. And I want to start it soon. And then I think my next start after that, this has been kitted up for quite a while. Hands-on Design Let's Talk Stitching. And I have some 18 count 8. This is the piece that wasn't big enough for that snowflake chart. That will be plenty big enough for this chart. So I'm going to use that with all of the called for DMCs. It's a lot of DMC. So those are 2 starts I have planned. And again, that chart includes a big one and a small. And 2 smalls, sorry. Because there's that one on the back. I don't know if I'm going to do all 3 right now. I definitely want to do the big one. That's the one I'm planning to start anyway. And then one other goal. So I'm finishing, or trying to finish. I'll get it finished. It won't be a problem. That's where that went. I'm trying to finish the When Life is Done before the anniversary of my father's passing. Well, I started the Scarlet House Roses for Ruby in honor of my mother-in-law who passed away April 17th. So I wonder, maybe, can I get this done before April 17th? I have a small start. It's a big chart, and I want to modify the chart. It is 175 by 175 stitches. Can I get it done by April 17th? While also getting the Light of Winter done before the end of winter? These are not hard goals. They're just like, wouldn't it be neat if goals. So I don't know. I'm going to try for it. We'll see how far I get. See how many other squirrels pop up. But those are in my plans. And I don't think I have anything else to share. I just had a shop release this last Monday. I think there's a couple of those left in stock. I don't have any of the samples on hand. I already shipped those out to people that ordered. And I don't have the next set of samples done yet. That's one thing I want to get a little bit better at, is planning a little bit further ahead business-wise. Sounds like a smart thing to do. We'll see. Hopefully I can have a few fully finished items next time. That would be nice, because I would also like to clear out my bin of fully finishes. I'm beginning to think I have a few too many goals to actually achieve. We might have to rethink a couple of them. Yeah, that's all I have to share with you today. I hope you have a fabulous couple of weeks. I should be back in about 2 weeks sharing just what I've worked on during that time period. I hope you have lots of fun stitching or quilting or crocheting or knitting or whatever it is that you like to do for your therapy and crafty time. And I hope you stay warm this chilly winter. So thank you so much for sticking around and watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.